Hey curious minds, it is night time here and I think it is perfect time to have a look at the soil in my container. I always wanted to share how my soil looks because this soil, the way it looks right now, was not the case when I brought it from the nursery. Often when we bring the soils from the nursery, it's just brown, plain brown, dull, and you don't see any signs of life. But now when you look at the soil in my container, it is full of life. And this has been possible because I try to replicate what happens in nature out there in the forest. That is, dried leaves keep on falling on the ground, and this dried leaves, plant material like dried leaves and flowers, twigs, all kinds of things that I keep adding to the soil keeps on getting mixed with the soil. The soil that looked in the beginning just brown is now dark brown or black, kind of blackish in color, and all the interesting creatures, the soil microfauna that live in the soil, dwell in the soil, they do a very important job, that is of decomposition, breaking down this material and doing the work of nutrient recycling. And this is possible because of all the interesting creatures that do their job every single day, and they do this all the time. One interesting creature that I want to talk about in this video is Collembolas, which are also known as Springtails. And I'm going to show you different species that I've now understood. There are 3 species that live in my soil, and we're going to have a look at them. In this video, it's going to be a pretty long video, I'm sure, but you're going to see these 3 different species all along in this video, running through the soils, going here and there in the soil, and I'll talk about them, each one of them, as we see them ahead in this video. First, let's have a look at the soil composition. But this container is not for plants. This container I have kept for the purpose of observing all this interesting soil mesofauna. Soil mesofauna are really small creatures, and they are often microscopic. They need microscope or higher magnification for them to be visible to us. They are so tiny that we might overlook them. And of course, for an untrained eye, there is nothing in the soil except all this leaf litter and plant material. Now, talking about soil, in this video I'm going to talk extensively about soils, the creatures that live in the soil, and how is a healthy soil formed, what are the players that play their role in making a soil really healthy and fertile. So, starting with the composition of my soil, over time I have added so many things that it's hard for me to remember what I added, what I have added so far, because I keep on adding things, organic and natural things into the soil often, starting from dried leaves, to flowers that are offered to God. When they dry up, I throw them into the soil. There are wood, as you can see, there are twigs, all kinds of things. So my soil is a mixture of all kind of natural organic matter that I keep on adding. Now don't mistake it for a compost bin. This is not a compost bin. Only the top part of it is what the things that I've added, only the top layer. Rest 80 to 90% is still raw soil. I don't keep on adding indiscriminately. I add this organic materials only when I feel that the soil needs it. And once all this thing that is visible right now vanishes. And when you create such rich organic soil, which is often covered and often there is moisture in it, you attract a lot of soil dwelling creatures, which are called soil mesofauna. And this has built a healthy community of soil mesofauna. Now, soil mesofauna are creatures that live in the soil. They are microscopic, they are very small, and they need magnification for us to see them. So if I ask you what kind of creatures live in the soil, very few people would be able to tell more than two, like earthworms. Of course, earthworms. But there are many creatures that live in the soil apart from the obvious earthworms. If I start from the smallest, there are bacteria. The largest number of creatures that live in the soil are bacteria, unicellular or multicellular. They play a big role in breaking down all this decomposing material into simpler and simpler compounds. Then we have fungi as well. In a healthy forest soil or in a healthy potted soil, if your soil is really healthy with all kind of organic and humus and moisture, it is for sure to have networks of fungi running all the length of the soil of your container, spreading everywhere and reaching every corner. Below this leaf litter and topsoil, they run deep and run across. This fungal networks, single hyphae, and the network is called mycelium, fungal mycelium, which is again food for some of the Collembolas or some springtails do eat fungi, fungal hyphae. So we have bacteria, we have fungi, we have nematodes, worms that are not segmented. There are many nematodes that are found in the soil. We also have mites. In my soil so far, I have only seen one mite, which was visible to me, of course. There could be many more that I have not yet seen, or they are so tiny that I'm not aware of their presence in my soil. So there are mites as well, and so these mites are predatory, so they can attack the springtails as well. They can attack other invertebrates living in the soil. So the cycle continues in the soil as well of prey and predation. Next, we also have some that are common, that people are aware of, like earthworms. In my soil, I do have earthworms living as well. More I added as I found them during rains where I live, I keep them adding to my soil, and now they live here. I don't see them often, so sometimes I feel that they might have dried out, but no, when it rains, they do come out of this soil. So they are definitely living below the surface, below all of this plant and decaying, decomposing matter. So earthworms are also there. But in my soil, Springtail dominate the microfaunal biomass in my soil, and their presence has a significant effect on the soil structure, aeration, the fertility, and all this benefits to the soil due to the presence of soil mesofauna is all well documented, and which is also the subject of our video are these Collembolas, the Springtails. As you can see, when I observe this soil at night, when the heat is less, protection from the sun, no harsh light falling on the soil, these creatures come out in numbers, and it seems they are abundant in my soil. And as I told you in the beginning of my video, there are 3 different species that I have figured out that live in my soil. The one which is yellow with black stripes is Willosia. The ones that you see here that often congregate like this every day, this is Symphypleona. These are blind, and these are the most abundant. But the populations keep changing. Sometimes I see more Willosia, sometimes I see more Symphypleona, sometimes I see more a third species, Sierra, the big black ones, or glossy colored springtail. So right now what you're seeing is a congregation of Symphypleona springtails. These are, compared to other 2 species that I have in my soil, the smallest, and they are blind. See, I remember recently I had added some charred, burnt coconut shell that had turned completely black, and it seems that is what is attracting and bringing them out in such big numbers. And it seems they are congregating, they're coming together either to eat some food that they are liking, or it could be anything else for mating, or it could be the colony or family, I don't know. Not quite sure about such behavior that Collembolas exhibit. I have not seen other species that live in this soil congregate like this, or it could be because they are whitish, they are more visible when they do this. Not sure. If any expert is watching, any expert on Collembolas, they can show or help us understand this behavior and also the difference between these 3 species that we are observing here. Now what I know about this Symphypleona genus, the ones that we are looking at, small, white, and these are blind, they often congregate, and this genus Symphypleona, these are very much abundant in tropical conditions, is what I have understood. They, all Collembolas, they act like tiny architects, always building the soil health. Very crucial role in decomposing organic matter, enriching the soil fertility, keep on breaking down, as you can see, leaf litter, all kinds of plant material. This helps in recycling the nutrients back into the soil, which the plants can take up from their roots. Such microfaunal, soil microfauna activity in the soil is very important when it comes to healthy soil. This healthy soil keeps the plant healthy, and when the plants are healthy, we humans, the herbivorous creatures like us, are also fit and healthy. So it all starts from the soil. And that is the reason why saving soil is so important. We don't talk about soil, right? When we talk about conservation, we talk about this species, this habitat, but we never talk about soil. Soil is the source. Everything starts from there. So keeping the soil healthy, rich, and free from any kind of contamination, pollution, or human activities, heavy activities, is very essential for the survival of plants, healthy plants, and healthy other creatures. It is such a basic knowledge that soil is very important to be in good condition for plants to be healthy. But if we look at our modern agricultural practices, do we see any importance being given to soil? There has to be a change, a shift back to organic farming, and that is where permaculture, all this nature friendly practices of agriculture, of crop production comes in. Using cow dung, cow manure, less tilling of the farmland, of the cultivated land, not using heavy machinery, not spraying excessive chemical fertilizers and pesticides. All these things add up and they make your soil healthy. All these things are important to keep off from your land, your soil. They break the system present in the soil, the natural systems present in the soil, the natural creatures present in the soil. Your soil becomes compact, dry, and less fertile, meaning less yield. So starting from the soil, we should work when it comes to agriculture. Proper mulching, adding of organic material, plants, all the dried leaves that fall should remain there, should not be swept and put in dustbin. I see that happening in gardens, in parks, which is not a healthy practice. That's not how nature functions. All this dried leaves that falls and remains on the ground is the starting point for the soil mesofauna to play their role. All these things that we collect, dried twigs and leaves, we collect them and throw them into landfills. And such huge landfills come up, especially we see that in India. Huge landfills right beside the cities, polluting the air. Instead, this soil mesofauna, these creatures that live in the soil, can help us break down this organic material, natural materials. When they break down, there is more space available. They break down these heaps of organic material into nutrients which the plants take up. So this is how the cycle is. The natural cycle is meant to be. And we humans are foolishly, knowingly or unknowingly, destroying this natural systems. We all are familiar with earthworms, right? Earthworms do such a tremendous work. They do a heck of a work. They, in a good healthy meadow soil, they many tons of organic matter, material, plant material, they take deep into the soil, creating these galleries and spaces in soil which leads to aeration. Water can seep in, creating space for other creatures that live in the soil. So all these creatures like earthworms and springtails, they have a role, they have an ecological niche that they play. But we see them as pests, we see them as unimportant. We don't understand their roles properly, and that's why we fail to give them importance. We don't care about our soils. Sorry, I digressed a bit there. That's not the topic of our video. I'll talk about these things in some other video. Our focus is about springtails, collembolas, and other soil microfauna, the creatures that live in the soil. Now talking more about springtails, they are primitive, they are small, they are wingless, but they are not insects. They are non-insect hexapoda. They are amazing creatures. There is a great diversity, there are a lot of families, and most amazing thing about them is that they are not just found in the soil. They occur in almost all possible habitats except the seas and oceans. Even in Antarctica, where the temperatures are so low, they are found. So not just soils, you can find them in ponds, freshwater habitats, a lot of other interesting places, and they do the same role everywhere they are. These creatures are not insects because they don't properly fit into this group. They have a separate lineage within hexapod, largely due to their internal mouthparts. So these are arthropods, subphylum hexapod, and they have a different separate class called Collembola. There are 4 orders among Collembola. Some Collembolas have rounded bodies. Unfortunately, I don't have any species that has a rounded body in my soil, but there are springtails that have rounded body, and the size range can also vary a lot. All springtails are quite tiny, from 0.2 millimeter to 6 millimeter, 2 millimeters. That is the average size of Collembolas. One more interesting thing about springtails that gives them their name springtail is that they possess a long spring-like jumping organ which is called the furcula, and which is present at the underneath of the 4th abdominal segment, which helps them to leap, to jump, and that is why when you try to touch them or try to go too close to them, they just disappear. It is not an act of disappearance, but they just jump off, and at such high speeds that we humans can't see that. Springtails are one of the most predominant mesofauna found in the soil, often under leaf litter, damp places of forest, caves, mountains, even deserts. You can find springtails, and this niche selection makes them so diverse, makes species richness very high. And unfortunately, there are very few researchers around the world that are doing any research on this. The numbers are increasing, but not the number we want. And hence, there is poor investigation, poor understanding, poor research, and less a very deficit taxonomic data. What we know is there are more than 9,000 species, 9,400 species, published Collembola species, and of them only around 4% is revealed from India. This reflects a lot of taxonomic work that is yet to be done. So anyone watching my video who has interest in Collembola or Springtails, who is watching from India or anywhere, there is a lot of scope, there is a lot of opportunity in this group of hexapods, a lot of new species to be discovered. One more interesting fact is that there are 377 species that have so far been discovered or seen from India. Of them, 195 are endemic. Imagine, so many, more than half of all the springtails that are found in India are endemic to India. So there are a lot of more species that are yet to be discovered, a lot of scope, a lot of opportunity. The primary role of springtail is detridivores, they are fragmenters, they break down, they regulate the soils, and also they become prey. There are some beetles, some other insects and non-insect hexapods that do it are Collembolas. So right next to the main container I have some potted plants, and as you can see, it is the same case here as well. I have covered the soil with mulch, all kinds of dried plant material, be it leaf, grass, coconut shell, anything that can be decomposed, I add up to the soil. And here also, in this a different container, I can see a lot of Collembolas that are coming out at night time. Can you see? All the three species that I mentioned earlier can be seen here. That is Villosea, Symphypleona, and Sierra. Just right now I told you about jumping abilities of springtail with a special organ called furcula. They can jump a long length, but unfortunately their landings are not that accurate. They land anywhere. So often I notice that from the container, a lot of springtails, Collembolas, they jump out and they land here on the wall, and this here, don't assume that this Collembolas have come out of the soil so they will die. No, they won't die, because here also they will find some or the other thing that they can munch on, any detritus, some particles that I can't understand what they are, but I see them nibbling on all kinds of things outside the soil as well. So I'm sure they can survive. They are very hardy, they are very resilient creatures. I don't try to put them back into the soil, the ones that come out, because they are not my pets, and second, if they come out of the soil, which happens quite a lot, I don't think it is any bad news, because there is already a lot of population that lives in the soil. Few individuals getting out will not harm the population. In fact, there needs to be a way of keeping springtail populations in check as well, right? Because in nature there is always balance. There is no lopsidedness in creatures, in populations of different creatures. So I guess this is good that few come out naturally by their own of the soil. They roam around. Some of course get hunted by creatures that live outside, like spiders. They get entangled in spider webs. Some just dry out. Talking about spiders, I do have spiders living here, right here, some wall spiders, that is Ecobius genus, and the springtails become easy target or become food for the spiders. This particular springtail that we're looking at, that we are following, is most likely belonging to the genus Sierra. Some Sierra species is what we are looking at. Whoa! Did you guys see? Our springtail just got attacked by a spider. Now this right here is a Willosia genus, most likely Willosia jacobsoni. These are black striped. They have black girdles, yellowish color. So this has similarities with the genus Willosia. Pigmented bands on the dorsal side is visible, and hence my guess is Willosia, most likely Willosia jacobsoni. Unlike some insects that exhibit sexual dimorphism, it is not very noticeable in springtails because it is rare. Only a detailed observation of the genitalia allow us for the determination of their sex. The only dimorphism, except that some springtail male are smaller in size compared to the female. Only this is seen in some cases. Other than that, it is very hard to tell male female apart. It needs a microscopic examination of the genitalia. Springtails and the contribution to the ecological balance, especially balance of the soil microfauna, is immense. From breaking down dissemination to regulation of fungi and bacteria populations, these springtails are essential for a good flow of nutrients, especially nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. These are vital for any plants. Without springtails, many elements in the soil or microbial biomass would be static. Many times, fungi spores are transported by springtails elsewhere. The mycelia of fungi can thus colonize new areas and contribute at the same process of plant decomposition. Many springtails who love to graze on mushrooms are also seen. Not just in healthy soils, but soils which are barren, which have turned barren, or which needs repair. Collembolan fauna can play a very important role in the rehabilitation of damaged topsoil, and thus they are a major member of soil mesofauna that helps in pioneer phases of soil formation. Their presence also indicates healthy and fertility of the soil. They act as a potent bioindicator. They can act as a prey in the detritus ecosystem, thus creating more interconnections in the food web at the soil level. Now for a few minutes, let's just watch and observe the Velocia genus Springtail, the one with black markings on its dorsal side and yellowish color. Let's see what it does. I'm going to follow it for a few minutes. Also can be seen here is most likely a Sierra genus. Let's follow it. Now talking about soil dwelling creatures, we should never forget ants. Ants that bury and live and build their nest underground in the soil are also equally important. They play an equally important role in soil health. You might know that around 90% of all the dead insects in the world that die of any cause, natural cause or any cause, they end up in a ant's nest, because ants carry these dead insects back into their nest where their colonies can eat and feed their young ones. You might have seen ants many times carrying insects or insect parts like wings, following pheromones back into their nest. This dead insect or insect parts, when they get buried in the soil, they start decomposing. The soil mesofauna acts on it and it becomes part of the soil, enriching the soil with its vital nutrients. And this is how ants also play a role in keeping soils healthy, and they are indeed important soil mesofauna. curious mind, that's it. I think I'll end this session here. It has become a very big video. I'll keep seeing this Collembolas in the future as well. Not interfering, just observing. My job is to keep on adding decaying leaf and keeping the soils moist in dry conditions. That's it. I hope if you've reached this far to the end and enjoyed watching Springtails, these amazing creatures that live in the soil with me, do like and comment. Now I need to get some sleep. Thank you.